Man, in nature, is a religious being who believes strongly in the supernatural. With so many differing belief systems coexisting in an overpopulated world, toes are bound to be stepped on. The potential for escalation is always present, and the propensity for violence among religious followers has been documented for centuries, with the most heinous and most cruel crimes of which history has recorded have been committed under the disguise of religion. Hit that subscribe button and make sure to watch till the end as we uncover the 10 horrifying events, or, permit me to say, worst violent atrocities, all committed in the name of religion. Our top spot is the Armenian Genocide. Many atrocities were committed during World War I, but do you know the one barely spoken of, the Armenian Genocide? This is because, even to this day, the Turkish government dispute that these events constitute a genocide. The Armenian Genocide was a systematic destruction of the Armenian people and identity in the Ottoman Empire during World War I. Spearheaded by the ruling Committee of Union and Progress, the CUP, the Ottoman Empire suffered a series of military defeats and losses, leading CUP leaders to fear that Armenians would seek independence. It was primarily implemented through the mass murders of around 1 million Armenians during death marches to the Syrian desert and forced Islamization of others, mostly women and children. Approximately 100,000 to 200,000 Armenian women and children were forcibly converted to Islam. Coming in at number 2, we have the ethnic cleansing of the Kashmiri Hindus, Islam. Kashmiri Pandits are the original inhabitants of Kashmir with 5,000 years. Close to 1 million Kashmiri Pandits inhabited the Kashmir Valley in the early 1900s, but today, no more than 3,000 remain. The ethnic cleansing of the Kashmiri Pandits from the Kashmir Valley is one of the greatest tragedies of our time, a gargantuan ethical infraction that defies imagination when one fathoms the magnitude of the atrocity and takes cognizance of its inherent diabolism. Islamization of Kashmir began in the 1980s when the Abdullah government changed the names of about 2,500 villages from their native names to new Islamic names. On that day, mosques issued declarations that the Kashmir Pandits were kafirs, infidels, and that the males had to leave Kashmir, convert to Islam, or be killed. Those who chose the first of these were told to leave their women behind. The Kashmiri Muslims were instructed to identify Pandit homes so they could be systematically targeted for conversion or killing. Moving on to number 3, we have the Thuggee murders. The thugs, or thuggees, were history's most notorious and deadly criminal cult who preyed upon travelers along the highways until the end of the 19th century in India. Their modus operandi was quite simple. By appearing to be friendly with fellow travelers, they would win over their trust and become close friends over long journeys, a typical wolf in sheep's clothing. Once the travelers reached a secluded spot, the victims would be strangled, plundered, and buried ruthlessly. Thugs were both Hindus and Muslims, and their cult was based on the goddess Kali, one of the most destructive and fierce of all Hindu deities. By bloodless killing, the thugs believed they were helping the goddess in balancing good and evil. Their murder count was as high as over 1 million. Can this killing ever get worse? Hit that subscribe button and keep watching to find out. At number 4, we have the Holocaust. In Jewish tradition, there's a poignant maximum. To forget an evil is to condone the crime. To pardon an atrocity is to see it reoccur with dangerous consequences. And to overlook a wrong is to alter the paradigm of justice. This sentiment resonates profoundly with the Holocaust, a term encompassing the genocide of approximately 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and their collaborators during the Second World War. Also known as a Shoah, meaning catastrophe in Hebrew, the Holocaust unfolded between 1941 and 1945, marking one of the darkest chapters in human history. The Nazis' systematic campaign aimed to eradicate the entire Jewish community of Europe, employing death squads like the Einsatzgruppen and extermination camps to execute their horrifying agenda. Shockingly, the Holocaust did not unfold in isolation. It was abetted by collaboration from nations occupied by Nazi Germany. including Lithuania, Ukraine, and Hungary. The enormity of this tragedy is not only in the staggering number of lives lost, but also in the collective failure of humanity to prevent such atrocities. Occupying our middle number is no other than the Crusades. In the name of Christianity, people have committed heinous acts of violence and even murder, despite such actions being explicitly condemned in the Christian Holy Book. The Crusades, a series of religious wars fought between the Christians and the Muslims in the late 11th century, were organized by Western European Christians in response to centuries of Muslim expansionism. The aim was to halt the spread of Muslim states, reclaim the Holy Land for Christianity, and recapture territories formerly held by Christians. These wars were marked by brutality and bloodshed, resulting in the deaths of over 1 million people. This reality is truly heartbreaking. Does this barbarianism align with the teachings of the Holy Book? Don't be too quick to respond as we go on to the next one. Coming in at number 6, we have the Jihad of Dan Fodio. Usman Dan Fodio was a Fulani scholar who launched a religious war, otherwise referred to as jihad or holy war. This took place between 1804 and 1808. According to belief, Muslim men that die waging jihad against the enemies of Islam will be rewarded by Allah in heaven as martyrs and receive 72 virgins to enjoy in blissful ecstasy. His motive was for purification of Islam in territories which were already Muslim at the beginning of the 19th century. The legitimacy of his struggle stemmed from his belief that until this point, Muslim leaders had only practiced an impure form of Islam. This war led to the death of thousands and toppled the Sultan of Gobir. Our lucky number 7 was anything but lucky, and it's the beheading of journalist James Foley. Foley was working as a freelance war correspondent during the Syrian Civil War when he was abducted on November 22, 2012. The journalist was beheaded on August 19, 2014 by a British citizen known as Jihad Johnny, purportedly as a response to the U.S. airstrikes in Iraq, an injustice to a harmless man whose crime was to selflessly risk his life in order to provide the world with information. The Boston Marathon bombing conveniently takes our 8th spot. The Boston Marathon bombing, a domestic terrorist attack, shook the nation on April 15, 2013, disrupting the annual event. Executed by two brothers, Dzhokhar and Tamerlan Tsarnaev, the attack involved 2 homemade pressure cooker bombs placed near the finish line, detonating just 14 seconds and 210 yards apart. Motivated by vengeance for American military actions in Iraq and Afghanistan, the brothers, driven by extremist beliefs, perpetuated this act in the name of defending Islam. Tragically, their actions claimed the lives of innocent individuals and inflicted injuries upon hundreds more. Moving on to number 9, we have the Mayan sacrifice. Between 250 and 900 AD, human sacrifices were common among the Mayan people. During this pre-Columbian era, human sacrifice in the Mayan culture was a ritual offering of nourishment to the gods and goddesses, with blood viewed as a potent source of nourishment. The sacrifice of human life was considered the ultimate offering of blood to the gods, with only high-status prisoners of war typically selected for sacrifice, while lower-status individuals were often used for labor. Thank you for sticking around. Please subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. We're about to reveal the final, most horrific event in the history of religion, and we don't want you to miss it. The last on our list is the 30 Years' War. This was one of the longest and most destructive conflicts in European history, lasting from 1618 to 1648, fought primarily in Central Europe. An estimation of 4.5 to 8 million soldiers and civilians died as a result of battle, famine, or disease. This war was traditionally viewed as a continuation of the religious conflict initiated by the 16th century Reformation within the Holy Roman Empire. The 1555 Peace of Augsburg attempted to resolve this by dividing the empire into Catholic and Lutheran states. But over the next 50 years, the expansion of Protestantism beyond these boundaries disestablished this settlement. This war was caused by various reasons, including religion, dynastic, territorial, and commercial rivalries. Although the struggles that created it erupted some years earlier, the war was said to have begun in 1618, when the future Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II, in his role as King of Bohemia, attempted to impose Roman Catholic absolutism on his domains, and the Protestant nobles of both Bohemia and Austria rose up in rebellion. With that, we call it a wrap. Did we miss any notable horrifying religious events? Please let us know in the comments below. Feel free to suggest future topics as well. Until next time, subscribe and stay tuned, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future videos. Thanks for watching.